everyone. We're group number 13. My name is Lai Si Lai, and my group members are Wu Peishen Claire, Yuan Jixing Amber, Lin Xingwei Vicky, and Gao Shihan Selina. Since Selina and Amber are our tech supporter, Vicky, Claire, and I would like to present our Capstone Project thesis, a study on international students in Providence University on their perception towards Taiwan's cultural dimension. Our study is based on a Dutch sociopsychologist named Hofstede. So first, I'm going to give a brief introduction of our study, and Vicky is going to talk about our research method with a given example. Last but not least, Claire is going to talk about how the results came out and what it meant to us. The study is motivated by the increasing number of international students. It explores their perceptions towards Taiwanese culture. The study assumes that the international students will perceive Taiwanese culture through their cultural lenses according to Hofstede model. So what is a Hofstede model? Well, Hofstede conducted his study between 1967 to 1973. He tried to analyze a country's culture value by collecting a large data from the managers and the employees in the international business organizations. This study has covered more than 70 countries. He also mentioned 6 cultural dimensions, which include power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term orientation, and indulgence. Okay, so let's take a look at Taiwan's cultural dimension model. So first, we've got power distance. Taiwan scored 58 on power distance, which means status is emphasized in our country, and also unequal power distribution is accepted in our society. Next, we've got individualism, and we scored 17 on individualism. This low score indicates that Taiwan is a collectivistic country, and keeping harmony is more important than being competitive with each other. In terms of masculinity, we've scored 45. This is a low intermediate number. So that means in Taiwan, fixed gender roles are not that expected in our country. For uncertainty avoidance, the index is 69, and this is a relatively high score. This suggests that avoiding uncertainty and unknown is preferred by most Taiwanese. Then we've got also a really high score, which is 93 on long-term orientation. This suggests that Taiwan's culture is long-term oriented. Finally, Taiwan scored 49 on indulgence, which is a pretty neutral number, and it doesn't show dominant preference towards indulgence or restraint. So, in conclusion, according to the dimension, Taiwan is a collectivistic country with hierarchical society. Taiwanese are not comfortable when it comes to unknown or uncertainty. And we are also people that is good at adapting traditions into modern life. So this is all from me, and I would like to invite Vicky to tell us about how our research works.
Hello everyone, my name is Vicky. Now I'm going to talk about the methodology and give examples to illustrate the results of the study. The study was based on Hofstede's cultural dimension, so we utilize it as a framework to know the perceptions of international students in Providence University. The hypothesis of the study is that the international students would perceive Taiwanese culture through their cultural lens. In this study, we use semi-structured interview to conduct our research. In semi-structured interview, we don't need to follow the order of the questions, and we also can ask some questions which are not prepared in advance if that help the participants to have more ideas on their opinions. And because of the free-flowing conversation, participants can express their own experiences without hesitation. And the research questions that we can ask are, how do international students in Providence University consider Taiwanese culture in terms of Hofstede's cultural dimension model and what are the possible factors that influence their perceptions of Taiwanese culture. And the questionnaire of personal information. In this study, we invited 6 participants. They respectively come from Japan, Mexico, Germany, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Swaziland. The participants' personal information was collected by questionnaire, and their age was around 19 to 25. The length that they stay in Taiwan ranges from 8 months to 3 years. This figure shows the cultural dimension of participants' national cultures. Because we don't have the index of Swaziland from Hofstede's cultural dimension, so here we don't have the bar chart of Swaziland, but we indeed interviewed 6 participants. And this is the procedure of the study. First, we review the literature. Second, design the hypothesis and questionnaires. Third, design semi-structured interviews. Here we have 6 dimensions. Each dimension has 2 questions, so the total we have 12 questions. And fourth, implement the questionnaire and interviews. And finally, transcribe and analyze the data. And next part, I'm going to talk about the results of the participant who is from Japan as an example. In this figure, we suggest that Japan should think of Taiwanese culture as similar in power distance, less individualism, less masculinity, less uncertainty avoidance, more long-term orientation, and more indulgence. If the index is we think plus or minus 5, we consider that the participant would see Taiwanese culture as same as their culture. In power distance dimension, we asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said that your relationship is closer, it's kind of like friends. So from this sentence, we analyze it as less power distance. And second question, she said that we will have our own opinions to tell teachers. So from this sentence, we also analyze it as less power distance. In individualism dimension, we asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said, you will say something that is on your mind directly. So from this sentence, we analyze it as high individualism. The second question that she said, I think you guys like to work together. From this sentence, we analyze it as low individualism. In masculinity dimension, we asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said that the seniors told her if she get married, she should take care of the family. But one of her friends got married, she still goes to work, and her husband also helps her to do the house chores. So from the sentences that she said, we analyze it as moderate. And second question, she said, people talk behind you like who got the better salary or who doesn't really have the good salary. From the sentence, we analyze it as high masculinity. In uncertainty avoidance dimension, we asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said, Taiwanese don't decide the activities or places until that day. So we analyze it as low uncertainty avoidance. And second question, she said, Taiwanese teacher I met wouldn't say the answer is wrong. We also analyze it as low uncertainty avoidance. In long-term orientation dimension, we asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said, but they always end up spending all their money. From the sentence, we analyze it as short-term orientation. And the second question, she said that her boyfriend is almost 30 years old, but he still has a good relationship with his high school classmates and college classmates. So we analyze it as a long-term orientation. And finally, indulgence dimension, we also asked 2 questions to the participants. First of the question, she said that her classmates asked her why didn't she do the homework, because they already did it. So from the sentence, we analyze it as restraint. And the second question, she said that Taiwanese like to do what they want. So from the sentence, we analyze it as indulgence. So this is the results of Japanese participants. The Japanese participant perceived Taiwan as a low power distance and low uncertainty avoidant country. And it shows mixed feeling in terms of individualism, masculinity, long-term orientation, and indulgence. So this is all from me. Now Claire is going to talk about what the results mean to us by providing a discussion and conclusion.
Hello everyone, I'm Claire. Today I want to introduce what the results mean to us by providing a discussion and conclusion. Our original hypothesis was that the international students will perceive Taiwanese culture through their cultural lens. Our findings shows that some participants have mixed feelings towards each dimension, so the results did not support the hypothesis. There are two explanations for the difference. First is individual variation. There are only 6 participants in our study, so they cannot represent the respective national culture. And individual differences like overseas experience, language proficiency, exposure to a target language are important to their perception of Taiwanese culture. Second, context plays a role. In teaching style questions, in Chinese class, teachers teach all the time. Therefore, that is teacher-oriented teaching style. But in English department, teachers love to do a group discussion for students. That is student-oriented teaching style. Therefore, it is not cultural difference. Context plays more important role. After that, I want to talk about the Swaziland. Swaziland is a very special case because there is no Swaziland data in Hofstede cultural dimension model. Therefore, we have to build a Swaziland's cultural tendency by consulting 2 websites and participants' interview. First, the policy of the Swaziland is monarchical society, and their main industry is agriculture. Therefore, we can infer that Swaziland is a high power distance and collectivistic culture. Besides, there is a specific gender expectation in Swaziland when I was young. Boys are expected to play cards and is told to take care of livestock, while girls are expected to play dolls and spend time on housework. Therefore, we can infer that Swaziland is a high masculine culture. Participants said that there is an African time in Swaziland. What is an African time? African time is an allowance of the daytime of appointment. It's around 1 hour. That means Swazi people can tolerate uncertainty. And we can infer that Swaziland is a low uncertainty avoidant culture. And last, Swazi people like to keep the traditions and they don't want to change for the future. Therefore, we can infer that Swaziland is a short-term-oriented culture. Next, I will talk about the conclusion. This study aims to know the international students' perception of Taiwanese culture. And this is a case study by using the semi-structured interview. And third, Hofstede cultural dimension model as a framework is conducted in this study. The hypothesis is that the participants' perception of Taiwanese culture would be affected by their cultural lens. And the hypothesis is not confirmed in this study, and there are 2 possible factors to influence the results. One is the individual variation, and the other is contextual differences. Next is the limitation. There are only 3 limitations in this study, and we will provide the suggestions for the further study. And first is the design of the interview questions is limited to the university setting and number. There are only 12 interview questions in this study. In the future, researchers can include more interview questions to provide more aspects of each dimension. And second is numbers of the participants. Researchers can include more participants in the future. And third is the semi-structured interview is conducted in our study, while a large-scale questionnaire is conducted in the Hofstede cultural dimension model. And in the future, researchers can include both methods to conduct the research. Next is contributions. There are 2 contributions in this study. First, this study provides a picture of Taiwanese culture from international students' perspectives according to Hofstede cultural dimension model. Second, it gives a glimpse of understanding to Swaziland's cultural tendency. In conclusion, as an intercultural framework, Hofstede influences in the field of the international business. In our study, it offers the perception of the international student and can provide the intercultural communication for the further study and the design of the cultural workshop. Afterthought. I think it is very interesting to do this capstone project. It makes us know different aspects of Taiwanese culture, from international students, from ourselves. At the same time, it can improve our academic writing, so we learn a lot. In the end, thank you for paying attention to our capstone project. Thank you.